Today's practice will be a little bit more of a movement practice. There's going to be some strengthening, just an overall general practice. And as always, take your time. We're not going to go fast. Always move at your own pace. We'll go ahead and get a little bit of a warm up on our backs first, just seeing how our bodies are feeling and how to prepare them for the practice. Letting your center of your pelvis rest on the floor, shoulder blades tucked underneath, center of the skull. Let's start with the knees bent right now, and giving yourself a few moments just to be flat on the floor. Seeing how your body, your spine, even your breathing receives just being flat on the ground. Making any subtle adjustments you need to make, and that might even be in your clothing. Find a comfortable foot placement. If the feet are too close and you feel like your knees are being jammed up, just go ahead and let your feet walk down the mat a little bit. Take the time. And what we'll do is go ahead and let that left leg slide down the mat and invite the right arm to go overhead. Sort of a diagonal line from left foot to right fingertips. And then go ahead and bring everything back to center. Left arm overhead, right leg down the mat, just breathing, big inhale, again a diagonal line, right foot, left fingers. As you exhale, bringing everything back together. If I'm moving a little too slow right now for you, your breath is a little bit shorter, just go ahead and take your time. We'll be doing this a couple of times to each side. If your breath is longer than mine, go ahead and slow it down. Keep on going. Noticing if you want to at any point, as the body gets used to repetition, that's the first thing you want to do is start going faster. Seeing if you can stay with the rhythm you've created with your breath. Next time you feel as though you're pretty evened up, go ahead and settle yourself right back into the center, knees bent, feet on the floor. Hands can be on your hips or on the ground. Snuggling in, making sure your posture feels nice and comfortable. And this time we'll go ahead and draw knees into chest. Go ahead and grab your knees or your shins, whatever you feel like you can get a hold of. We'll just get a little rock from side to side, a little side-to-side massage across the back and maybe the pelvis. Easy does it. Seeing if you can link this to breathing. Maybe exhale to one side, letting yourself inhale back to center. Exhale over to the other side. Inhaling back to center. Nice thing about doing warm-ups here as you link to the breath, kind of gets us out of that rapid, oh, I got to move fast in order to get some kind of benefit. It starts getting the body to sink in with the breathing rather than moving separately. And even in a practice, it's going to be a little bit more active, a little more brahmana, a little more sun. We still want to make sure we're not rushing or moving too fast. And then next time you're in the middle, let's go ahead and take feet to ceiling, letting the ankles wiggle around a little bit, just waking them up. And then pushing through both heels, letting the toes tip towards you, squeezing into the back of the pelvis. So we can start to feel a little more pull through the front of the leg. And then tucking the knees in, we'll open the knees apart, a little stretch to the inner thigh. Close them back together. We'll take the feet up, but a little wider V this time, pushing through the heels, squeezing into the back of the pelvis. Knees come in, breath in, open the knees apart. As you exhale, they come back together. This time even wider apart. You may want to bring your hands to the outside of your legs. And then bring them in as you exhale. Inhalation, open apart, and hold for 2. inviting the attitude of not having to rush. Closing the knees, feet up and legs as wide apart as you feel like you can go right now, just with the power of your legs. We're not pulling with our hands, just inviting the legs to open. We'll hold this for 3. Keeping the back of the pelvis grounded, pushing through the heels, toes pulled to you. One more breath. And letting the legs close back together, tucking the knees in, and we'll just go up and down the back a few times, just making sure everything's okay. So an inhalation takes the knees away, exhalation brings them to you. And then the next time the knees are away, let's take arms overhead and just the power of your hip flexors. Pull the knees into you and then that half away. And again, as you exhale, draw the knees in so you can curl the lower back off the floor and then release. Do that one more time. Draw the knees in, curl the lower back up as high as you can. We'll stay here, breathe. Arms reaching overhead as much as you can. And on your next in-breath, slowly releasing feet to floor. And we'll take arms to T, preparing for a bridge pose, lifting the hips up. Just going as far as you feel comfortable right now. This is first upside down, letting yourself slowly roll back down to the floor. Reposition anything that you feel you need to, and then inhale again, taking hips up, maybe a little higher, and letting yourself back down, rolling through the back. One more time, inhaling, pelvis up, pressing up as high as you can. We're looking for the sensation that the pubic bone and the tailbone are sort of searching for each other. So it's not one dominant. Both are looking. Pubic bone presses down, tailbone kind of pushes up. One more breath, finding arch side of the foot so the knees don't open. And letting yourself roll down to the floor. We'll draw knees into chest, just go up and down the back a time or 2. And then releasing feet to floor, shifting over onto one side. Coming up nice and slow, no rush to get up. We've been on our backs. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and grab hold of the blanket and bringing it comfortably underneath your knees just to help protect. Finding your way into simple tabletop, looking for the hands and shins to bear the weight. Letting the toes curl, we'll sit back into the heels, just stretching the soles of the feet for a moment. Making sure the heels haven't winged out to the side. Letting yourself breathe. Unlocking the jaw. We'll go ahead and come back up into tabletop. Walking the hands from one handprint forward. And then right foot steps forward to where the right hand was. We're looking for arch of the foot to line up with the palm of the hand. And then depending on your flexibility, you can scoot that left knee back a little bit more or draw it a little bit closer. So rather than thinking necessarily about squeezing the tailbone to the seat bone, right seat bone to the floor, think about closing the distance between your heel and that right seat bone. It's almost like a little bit of a scooping forward. Hold and breathe, and then letting your hands walk back. We'll hold the ball of the foot to floor, getting a good strong stretch through the back of the leg. And then again, coming back forward. Seat bone squeezes towards that right heel. We'll do that one more time, taking the knees back, hips back. And then folding over as much as you feel like you want to right now. And then release, right knee goes forward. Walk your hands around to the left so it's a little easier to step that right knee back. Finding your way back to tabletop, this time without curling the toes, sitting back towards a child's pose, whatever that looks like for you. So some people seat bones are to the heels, other people hand to elbow, letting yourself sink back a little bit through the shoulders, Your knees will be your limiting factor most of the time, sometimes the back. And we'll go ahead and come back up, find simple table. Walking the hands once again, one hand print forward, left foot this time to where left hand was. Arch of the foot lining up with the palm. We're looking once again to make any adjustment you need to with that right knee. And then left seat bone, squeeze as close as the distance. If you had a string here, you want to put some slack in that string. And then letting your hands walk back, ball of the foot to the floor. And then we'll go ahead and do that again. Squeeze that seat bone towards the heel, and then again back, ball of the foot to the floor. One more time, knee comes forward, little squeeze. Leg extending, and this time folding over that as much as you feel comfortable right now. We're still warming up. And go ahead and send that knee forward. Take the hands around to the right so it's a little easier to step back. So not having to swing the leg quite so much. And this time letting the knees open apart, we'll sit back into child's pose wherever yours is, either seat bones to heels or hand to elbow. If you're always taking seat bones to heels, maybe try hand to elbow and see what that feels like, just to sink down through the chest. And we'll go ahead and release, bringing hands back underneath, and finding a little bit of downward facing dog right now. Letting the heel maybe pick one side, and inviting the energy to drop into that one heel. And then switching sides, find the other. Want to be careful we're not necessarily pumping, but just inviting a softness to come down and into that heel. Softening through the sole of the foot. And then we'll go ahead, both sides, maybe bend the knees a little bit. Maybe the backs of the legs are still stiff. And if you walk your feet to the outer edges of the mat or about 2 feet apart, take some of the stress off of that hamstring. If you have a tendency to have tight strings, this might be a nice alternative for you. And then we'll go ahead and release, letting both knees come back down to the floor, forearms to the ground. We'll find our cat-cow through the back and the forearms. Nice and slow, no rush. And then returning hands to the ground. And just pause for a moment. Everybody can kind of catch up to where we are. And then either walking your hands back to come to a half forward fold, or some people like to prefer coming forward. Finding a half forward fold here. Making sure we're keeping the back of the neck nice and long so we're not picking the chin up. Just letting yourself hang, maybe hand to elbow instead of a half forward fold would feel better for your back right now. A couple of good deep breaths into the back. Maybe you're ready to bring your fingertips to the floor, pressing through the legs a little bit. And then letting your hands come to your thighs, coming up. Maybe stop halfway on the way up. You can let the knees bend a little. And then all the way up to standing. And just putting the blanket, move out from underneath you and putting it to the side. So we'll go ahead and start today with a spread leg. Just still warming up the body, getting it moving. So we're looking for a fairly wide stance. If your feet are right up underneath your hips, it's not going to have the benefit, and it's going to be difficult to move into some of these poses. So we want to have a little wider stance. So making sure we're pressing down into the center of the foot, and that we haven't shifted one hip higher than the other, really centering right down the middle, plumb line. So we're going to take a little bit of the left toes are going to turn in just slightly, and then rotating on the right heel, turning that right foot away from you. So we're looking for a nice straight line here. Making sure that we haven't leaned over before we've even started. We're really holding the hips straight and the plumb line right down the center. And letting yourself slowly begin to tip. So the hips are going to shift underneath you over to the side rather than holding the hips stiff and just the upper body moving. That right hip begins to press underneath. You'll start to feel pull in here as we make our way towards triangle. Just a little bit here. I'm keeping my hand on my hip. Let the right knee bend, and we'll come all the way back up. Turning the toe forward, let's just go to see how the other side feels. Right foot comes in, finding the triangle on this side. That left hip this time comes underneath as the body tips over. I'm keeping my right hand on my hip. And then we'll go ahead and come all the way up. Turning toes forward, left foot slightly in, right toes tip, and this time we'll come down into more of a warrior two stance, just seeing how that feels. Right arm is going to shoot straight up to the sky, and then right hand goes down as you come into triangle. Let's do that a couple of times. Bend the right knee, right arm goes up. Kind of Saturday Night Live here, or Fever. Right hand to the floor. Let's do one more time. Inhale and reach up. Exhale, triangle. And we'll go ahead and turn into high lunge from here. Turning onto the ball of the left foot, right knee is over the right ankle, left hand is on the ground. If you feel like you need to walk that right foot out to the side a little bit for more stability, go ahead and take that. Right hand comes to right thigh, turning your chest, your sternum towards that right knee, and right shoulder blade draws in, taking fingers to the ceiling. So you inhale, turn chest to floor, reach forward. Exhale, find that rotation, really holding that right knee over the ankle. Resisting the urge to let it open to the side, just back and forth at your own breath. Inhaling, exhaling, finding the twist. Inhaling. Again, the twist, and this time you find the twist. We'll hold this for an extra breath, reaching through the fingertips. And then we'll go ahead and release, finding high lunge, and we're going to just back ourselves out. So 45-degree dent with the left hand. I'm going to let the right leg straighten out to find triangle pose. Bending the right knee, finding that warrior two with the right arm straight up to the ceiling. And then we'll go ahead, release, turning toes center. Find balance here first, and then we'll just wiggle everything back together again. Taking arms overhead, bringing the palms of your hands together, bending the elbows, tipping your fingertips down towards your tailbone, lifting up through the chest. A little back bend, and then release. We'll find that broad stance again. This time right toes will tuck in, left toes turn, and looking for triangle pose. Just slow and easy. Making sure the right ribs are drawn in. We're not turning the right ribs to the floor, but pulling them in. And then we'll go ahead and bend that left knee, left arm to the ceiling. And then back again. Couple times, you can keep your hand on your hip or take those right fingertips to the ceiling. Inhale, plumb line down the middle, left hand up so we're not leaning. Exhale again, finding triangle. One more time, we'll find that warrior. Just straight up, we're not stretching over backwards, and triangle. And we'll turn into the high lunge from here. Make any adjustments in your stance so you feel supported, sort of a tripod feel. Right hand to the ground, left knee's over the ankle so it hasn't drifted out and pulled the arch of the foot off the ground. And then we'll find that twist as you exhale. Inhale, rib cage turns. So really trying to focus on the rib cage here, turning rather than this being in the shoulders turning. Feel those ribs. Left ribs turn to the ceiling, right ribs to the floor. Couple more times, inhaling. And next time you exhale into that twist, let's stay there. Push that right hand into the floor. One more breath. bring that hand down to the floor. We're in high lunge, 45-degree turn. Back ourselves out through triangle. Coming up into that warrior two. Left knee bends, left fingertips to ceiling. And we'll go ahead and straighten up, bringing toes forward. Wiggle the feet back together again. And again, that reaching up, palms together, bending the elbows, taking fingertips to the tailbone, lifting up, finding a little arch in the back, and then we'll release. So let's go ahead now and just step to the front of the mat. Take a few moments to find a strong standing position, second and third toes straight ahead. I want to sense as though the kneecaps are slightly lifted, not creating tension there, but just like you're trying to draw energy up and into the thighs. Go ahead and take the arms overhead, finding a good strong reach here. Knees bending a little bit, letting yourself float down into an easy forward fold, head tucks. From here, you're welcome to jump back into a plank or just simply step. Take a few breaths here. And then rolling onto the left edge of your foot, I'm going to turn my back to you. Right foot stacks, and we're turning into plank pose. If this is a lot, drop the knee and swing onto the shin. So, here or here. You're also welcome to take that right leg up to the ceiling if you'd like to. Just keep it right on the floor. And turn back into that plank. Right knee draws up and shoots through. And you turn around onto your seat bones. Let me show you that again. We're in plank. Right knee draws up. Shoot the leg through. Rotate and sit. We'll take both arms up and overhead, lifting up through the chest. Elbows pull down. Inhale, lift. Think of lifting up through the lower part of the sternum. And again. One more time, reach up. Exhale, hold. Shoulder blades are pressing downward. Release the arms again, reaching up. And we'll bring that right hand back to the floor. Lifting both hips up. And we'll be in this wide leg plank here. Drawing your right knee in, just reversing where we were. Right knee is up. And we'll hold. Breathe. Letting your shin rest on the floor. This left leg is going to slide around to the right and let yourself sink back. It's just a modified pigeon. Letting go of the shoulders, the head, the jaw. Letting all that pressure off of your wrists. Making sure that left kneecap is turned to the floor rather than turning out to the side. Let's go ahead and come all the way up. We'll come back to that plank pose. Pressing into downward facing dog. You can pedal around, you can take your feet out to the side. I want this to be a very easy, low stress kind of dog. Let the knees bend, the spine is nice and long. And then either walk, step, or hop yourself up to the front of the mat. We'll come up about halfway, maybe even do a little rest of the forearms if you want to on your thighs. And then all the way up to standing, taking your time. Once again, looking for second or third toes to be straight ahead. Take the time to find that good posture first. We'll take arms overhead. Get a little bit of a back bend, turning the collarbone to the ceiling. A little bend in the knee, and we'll come back into that forward fold. step, hop, jump, however you want to get into that plank pose. And then we'll roll onto the right foot. You decide, feet stack or one shin on the ground. Hold, making sure right shoulder is comfortably over that wrist. Left leg can reach up if you'd like to. Hold and breathe. And we'll turn on to that plank again. Left knee draws up. Shoot it through and sit down. Legs are wide apart. Arms reaching up and overhead, pulling down like on an imaginary bar. Inhale, reaching up again, chest lifts. Exhale, as you pull down, you're thinking of the lower part of the sternum lifting. Inhale. Exhale, let's stay here for an extra breath. Reaching up again. And left hand comes down. Both sides of your pelvis come up. We're in this wide legs plank pose. Reversing out of it, knee comes in and turning into plank with the knee drawn up. We'll hold. Make any adjustments so that the structure is good. Hands are under the shoulders. Release the shin to the floor. Right leg crosses over this time. And making your way into that, just a modified pigeon. We're making sure the knee isn't turned out, that right knee is not turned out to the side. Keeping the right knee, right top of the right thigh towards the floor. And I know some people might be here, and that's fine. We're all in different places. Some people are sprawled flat to the ground. Unlocking your jaw. Making sure the elbows and shoulders get a moment of rest. And we'll go ahead and slide back up. Find your way back to your plank. And downward facing dog. Anywhere that dog looks good for you. Looking between your hands, step, hop, jump, walk your way back up. We'll do a little hand to elbow hang here, or forearms to thigh. And then taking your time, coming up to standing, taking arms overhead, reaching up, and arms drop alongside your body. Reestablish your posture. We'll take turns overhead. Little back bend again. Check to see if the hips went flinging forward, and try and hold those hips as best you can over the ankles. We're not looking for a big back bend here. And then slowly releasing back down into an easy forward fold. Knees bent, thighs and ribs right up against each other. And we'll step back into simple table. Only be here for a moment. Get ourselves centered into hands and shins. A couple of good deep breaths here. And then letting yourself sink back. Your child's pose. It may be different than when you started. It may be the same. Go ahead and come up, and let's turn onto our seat bones. And letting your feet come comfortable distance apart, somewhere between seat bone and hip bone distance apart. And bring your hands behind you. If you have some wrist issues, it may feel a little bit better to let your fingertips turn out rather than straight towards your heels. We're inviting the shoulder blades, rather than just squeezing together up at the top, as we're starting to push the shoulder blades down the spine, inviting the chest to open. And I'm going to slide my seat bones down towards my heels, kind of testing the waters and shoulders and wrists. And then pressing the seat bones up, up, up. Right now I feel as though my heels and my hands are a little too close together, and that's going to depend on everybody's body length and torso, so you may have to make an adjustment. So seat bones down, lift up through the pelvis. Check to see if your seat bones are way low and seeing if you can really push up, pressing knees down into the feet. Belly button pulls up the spine. And we'll go ahead and release right back down to the floor. Bringing your hands underneath your legs, just getting a little bit of a forward fold here, letting your chin drop towards your chest. Big breath down the back. We'll go ahead and sit all the way up and find that hand position again. We'll keep moving through this. Letting your seat bones move down towards your heels. Hips up, belly button pulls into spine, knees press into feet. And we'll take right foot up to the ceiling, reaching up as high as you can go. And we'll take that ankle, cross it over the left knee, keep lifting hips. And letting yourself sit back down. Left leg straightens out. And that right foot's on the floor. So we're just sitting here with the right foot on the outside of the left. If this is too much in your hip, change it and bring the foot to the inside. Try on both. We'll take left arm and wrap it around. And just looking for a simple twist here. As you inhale, kind of unwind a little bit. And as you exhale, find twist again. Inhale, unwind a little bit. Exhale, twist and hold. This right knee is kind of aiming for that left armpit. And we'll go ahead and release. Let both legs straighten out. Slide your heels back up. Wrap your hands underneath those thighs again. Little forward fold, tucking in the chin. Big breath down the back, exhaling up the front of the body. And then releasing. Hands coming behind you. Seat bones slide to buttocks. Hips up. Knees press into feet. Belly button pulls up the front of the body. And then shifting weight to right foot, left foot reaches up. Keep lifting the hips. And we'll take that ankle across. Sit down nice and slow. Right leg slides down the mat and foot to the ground. So the foot can stay on the outside of the right leg, or if you're more comfortable, bringing it to the inside. Right arm wraps around and exhale, turning to the left. Inhale, little half release. Exhale, turn. Inhale, little half release. Exhale and stay there for a few breaths. Continuing to lift up through the spine. Left knee aims for that right armpit. And we'll go ahead and slowly release, letting both legs stretch down the mat. Sliding your feet back up to you, both arms wrap underneath, chin tucks to chest. Big breath down the back from the neck down to the tailbone. And exhaling up the front of the body. One more time. And we'll go ahead and release. Letting your legs go down the mat. We'll bring forearms to the mat, finding modified fish pose. Eyes can stay on your toes, the ceiling, or you look behind you, wherever your neck feels best right now. We're inviting the collarbone to be nice and broad here, so we haven't turned the tops of the shoulders to the ceiling. So we're trying to draw them away from the ceiling. One more breath. And tucking chin to chest, we'll slide feet up and letting yourself come down to the mat. Go ahead and grab your blanket again, bringing it underneath your head. Knees are bent, feet are flat to the ground. And we'll go ahead and draw knees in and take arms overhead. Exhale, feet to the floor, arms to the ground. Let's do that again. Deep breath in and exhale, knees in, arms overhead. Inhaling, feet to floor, arms to the ground. One more time. Take a breath. Exhale, knees in. Inhale, feet to the floor, arms to the ground. And just reestablish your posture. Arms to a T. We'll take both feet up to the ceiling, letting the ankles wiggle around a few times. Some point and flex, always ending point and flex. And then we'll draw knees into the chest. Let the knees open wide apart. Nice big breath into the belly. As the exhale, close them. We'll go up and down the spine a few times. Exhaling as the knees come in. Inhaling as they move away. And then letting the hands slide down the thighs, feet to the ground. Reestablishing your posture. And letting right arm reach overhead, just that right arm, very soft elbow. Big deep breath into the right ribs. As you exhale, letting that right arm come back nice and soft. And then left arm, as you breathe in, really think about filling up the left ribs. And then releasing. You can let those arms open out a little bit away from the body. And then one leg and then the other. Begin to move down the mat. If you like to have a bolster underneath your knees, this is a good time. Or you can move to the wall and do legs up the wall here for your Shavasana. We're inviting the arms to be at a comfortable distance. If they're up high, sometimes we can lose circulation. So keeping the hands below the shoulders and a little bit away from the body. We're inviting the knees and the feet to turn slightly, just naturally outward, so we're not forcing this to happen. Making sure your clothing is comfortable. You're finding the center at the back of the head. Really taking a little bit of time here, inviting from the shoulders down through the elbows and into the wrists and hands. Maybe wiggle the fingers one last time. And inviting the hands to do nothing for a few moments. And bringing your attention to your hips and buttocks, inviting tailbone to be released by the buttocks. And then releasing that energy down the thighs through the knees, calves, feet, into your toes. Maybe wiggle the toes one last time. And then inviting the feet to do nothing. Inviting the waistline to release all the way around, like you're letting go of a belt that was a little too tight. Collarbone releases shoulders and neck, jaw unclenches, tongue releases the roof of the mouth. And letting go of the muscles of the face. Letting your eyes close when you choose to. So inviting yourself to rest in Shavasana 6 to 10 minutes. Take all the time you need.